Hello, welcome to the weekly Astrology and Spirituality show with Elisa and Patrick Arundell. This is for week commencing the 5th of July. Sincere apologies, we didn't get to make week commencing the 28th. We simply didn't have any broadband. And the broadband came back to us a couple of days ago, so we've been trying hard to catch up with work. So obviously, the first thing we always start with is that glorious Hermetic wheel. Elisa, what's the card of this week?
It is an absolutely glorious card for this week. We are looking at the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups is a card of community, a card of working together. It could be that somebody from our past, a relative or a long-lost friend, comes back into our situation. But it's generally about community coming round to support either one person or a group of people in some way. So this could be a sort of neighbourhood watch project or some sort of community project where we're working together to reach a common goal. So it's a really beautiful, uplifting energy for this week.
Lovely. And where we've moved to, which is in North Pembrokeshire in West Wales, has the community that we've moved into has a really proactive, inclusive approach to the community, which we feel really excited to be part of, so that's fantastic. Yeah. Now, in terms of the astrology, obviously this week sees the new moon in Cancer. Cancer new moon is glorious because the sign of Cancer is governed by the moon, so it's the strongest new moon of the year as far as the moon is concerned. The strongest new moon of the year as far as the sun is concerned is obviously Leo, because that sign is governed by the sun. But this particular event, which occurs on the 10th, is also angling up to Uranus, the planet of freedom, truth and surprises. So we are being asked to think a bit more imaginatively and spontaneously to find the truth in our approach to our own personal security, our emotional security, our physical space that we live in. It wouldn't be a surprise if some people were decluttering this week, because Uranus loves a degree of space, but it's also very quick moving. So something can happen around the emotional world this week, which is quite surprising, but it's also a fine time to try to rejuvenate any kind of relationship. And the reason for that is the glorious combination between Venus and Mars in Leo, which is very affectionate, very sociable, is actually jangling in a right angle to Uranus. So if anything's a bit stuck, we're a bit penned into some attitudes or patterns of approach which are stopping us growing, then we're being pushed to make some changes. And if we resist them, it could cause some tension. Now, also, we do have the card of the week. And the interesting thing is that in the room that we're talking in, I found a card on the floor, and it's kind of been there. We've cleared the space to make this video because sadly the people who lived here before have both died over the last 6 months, a year, and all their possessions were here, which we've been very sensitively sorting through. But Lisa's got a story to tell about this card.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Patrick was like, we should use this card that we found for this week. But what's funny about it is I ordered a deck of cards and this one particular card didn't have any meaning written on it at all. So I contacted the author to say, what does this mean? And he wrote back saying that actually only about 5 decks had this problem. It was basically a misprint, but in a way that kind of made it more special. So we've now put the card up somewhere in the house, and that's kind of like our special card. So it can mean whatever we want it to mean. But I thought this week we'd pick a card that has a meaning so that we could be a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
And the deck that I've gone for is actually something that's very sort of close to me at the moment. It's the Magical Mermaids deck. And the area that we've moved to really has a lot of mermaid folklore attached to it, which I am totally vibing off. So I thought that this would kind of match with that.
Shall I pick a card?
Yeah, you pick a card. I've also got my mermaid necklace on as well. So.
Roll of the drums.
And it goes with the Cancer new moon, I think.
Okay. Yes, of course, the water.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Wow. The word on this card is protection, and we can see this mother mermaid with a little baby mermaid, and it says here, you, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven.
Oh.
So that is like such a lovely message, especially if we've been thinking about our loved ones. I know with us, clearing this home that these two lovely people had lived in previous to us.
And we can feel the lovely spiritual connection that they had.
Because usually, I've moved home quite a few times, and usually when I get into a new space, I like to cleanse it, so I get my sage out and all of that. But with this house, I haven't felt that. It's got such a happy, lovely vibe to it. And so, yes, we are being protective of their possessions, even if we are rearranging them somewhat, because that is a sort of representation of them still on this earth. But I think this is also a card if we're thinking about passed over loved ones that pop into our mind at all, that it's just a little sort of confirmation that I feel they're okay.
Yeah,
really.
that's absolutely lovely. And in fact, my mum's birthday is the 9th of July, and she passed over just under 17 years ago on the 11th of August. So, which incidentally was the day that Elisa and I met.
Yeah, and my mum's birthday is the 8th of July, so that's another strange synchronicity we have.
Yeah, but of course the new moon in Cancer is very much about protection, isn't it? It's about, feeling secure. And the other thing that I really admire about Cancer people is the ability to walk into a situation and sense whether it feels comfortable or not. So that's something that, we can all be led by logic, we can all be led by ambition, by the more material world, which comes through perhaps the sign of Capricorn. Logic would be an air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. But the feeling energy of this new moon over the next month in its angle to Uranus is asking us to think of ways in which we can find that greater sense of protection, but perhaps just being a bit more open-minded. So that could mean in some ways changing something that's worked quite well, but perhaps isn't necessarily quite serving our purpose in the way it was. For example, just a simple way, just if a colour scheme has lost its appeal, freshening things up will bring fresh energy into a home. If there are possessions we no longer want that we can give to a charity scheme or someone who's less fortunate, then that creates more emotional space, but also it kind of recharges the emotional dimension of our situation.
I love that, yeah.
Now, in terms of the birthday winner of the week, we do have someone. Unfortunately, we were going to do two last week to compensate for the fact that we didn't do one for week commencing the 21st, I think. I can only sincerely apologise if you could bear with us on this, because we do get a lot of people entering, and it wasn't anything cynical. We just didn't have access. I think my computer finally went up. Was it about Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, Elisa got the broadband working late on Wednesday night. So, and I've literally just printed off this week's winner. And this is a gentleman who was born in West Orange in New Jersey called Ryan. And Ryan was born on the 10th of July. And he said in his notes, my birthday is on the new moon. Well, that is true, but your solar return actually occurs the day before, Ryan, because when the sun reached back to the point it was when you were born, 17 degrees 51, it was actually, or it will be on the 9th of July, my mum's birthday. So, Ryan, what do we have in your natal chart? Well, I see the sun is quite close to your 10th house. It's in the ninth house along with Venus. So you're someone with a real appetite for checking out different environments. I think you have an inquisitive nature about what makes people tick. Obviously, the nurturing energies that you have of the sun in Cancer is also supplemented by Venus there. Venus loves being in Cancer, and they're both in the ninth house. So a love of travel or a love of different cultures or different philosophical approaches probably does call out to you. But you also have a gloriously, very, very fortunate combination between Jupiter and Mercury in the sign of Leo in your 10th house. 10th house is about work, it's about success, it's about how we link to the wider world. This can give you a larger than life persona. I think you're someone who comes across as bubbly, enthusiastic, and you probably like to really stand up your ideas, and you like to be admired, I'd say, Ryan. But you do have your moon right within the first degree in Aquarius. So that's interesting, and that's in the fourth house. So that home desire that is often there for Cancer people, even though you have another part of your nature that I feel does like to wander, it always takes you back to home with the moon in the sign of Aquarius, but in the fourth house. It's just that perhaps you need a bit of space, especially with that ninth house energy, which is very Sagittarian on your Sun and Venus. You also have Mars and Juno in Gemini, so in the eighth house. So that gives you quite a passionate nature, but also, I think you can be someone with quite an evocative way of expressing your ideas. And as ever with this exercise, I don't look at the charts before because I think it's more fun to challenge me, really. But I will say that your midpoint, the balance between the sun and your moon, is 24 degrees Aries, right on your 7th house. And I would speculate that relationships have probably been a bit of a tough hoe over the last 2 or 3 years for you, because on the other side of the heavens, you've got Pluto just in your 12th house that gives you a love of psychology, but it's very close to your descendant. So I think you're a powerful person when it comes to how you relate to people. The psychology of relationships calls out to you strongly, but it does mean that as Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto have moved through Capricorn over the last couple of years, and obviously Pluto is still there and still in a square with your midpoint, I think it is changing the way you think, and more recently, now that Pluto's in your 4th house, where you live. So I think there is going to be a change about where you live, and you've mentioned that you may be moving, but that is kind of shown in your chart anyway. So I think there's been some major shifts around your home, emotional and family life over the last couple of years. Now, just bear with me, please. So this is your solar return. So I'll just tell you that your ascendant on your solar return is actually in the sign of Sagittarius, which points towards that desire to expand and move out of your comfort zone. The interesting thing about your solar return is you do have Saturn opposite Venus. So relationships over the next year are going to need to be very meaningful. I'm not saying they're never meaningful for you, because I think you're probably a very sensitive person. But I think even more so this year. But you are influenced very much by this new moon from the energies of Uranus. So Uranus is in a sharp right angle with Venus, and therefore a square also with Saturn, so a T-square around your 6th, 9th and 3rd houses. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussion. If you have points of view that you want to share with people, I think that you may at times delight in being a bit shocking and a bit confrontational, but just be aware that in more personal relationships you're going to have to balance the kind of enthusiasm, almost zealousness that you may have around your ideas against what you really want in a practical context. But certainly with Uranus in a great angle with the Sun and the Moon on your solar return on the 9th, I think that this can be a year where you can take a fresh approach to how you earn money and your personal assets and resources. So I hope that helps you, Ryan, and wishing you all the best. Have a lovely birthday on the 10th. Now, if it's your birthday from week commencing the 12th of July, please write in with your time, date and place of birth, and also where you live now if it's different from where you were born. You can just put it underneath your name on YouTube. We're not telling people's entire names to protect your confidentiality, but if you want to go onto the contact form through the website and write it to me directly, please do so. Now also, you can get your free daily horoscope emailed to your device by clicking on the link below, and that's something really nice to have each day. I feel that the daily horoscope I offer is more thoughtful than some. It's not the kind of simplistic astrology that used to be out there a lot more. It's always been tries to work with the planets, but not use too much astrological terminology. So something meaningful that we can all relate to, but it also is talking about what's going on in the heavens in a way that is important to know. Now, Elisa, what about a word for the week then? So,
well, I think the word that pops into my mind for this week is gratitude, because I'm feeling that in our situation. Because even though there have been elements of our move that obviously have been stressful, because moves are stressful in general, there is an underlying deep sense of gratitude within that. And I just feel as well very grateful for our Patreons, I'd just like to say, because they've really been along with us on this journey, as you all have. But our Patreons in particular have been sort of, they get different updates. It's even more personal stuff. And really, really grateful for those Patreons.
Yeah, and if you'd like to become a patron and get a little bit closer to us, you can do so for $3 a month.
Yeah, we've been sharing some pictures.
Yeah.
Of where we are with our Patreon. So
yeah.
A huge thank you if you are one already.
And thank you all for your really very kind comments about the move. I think you all have done a move sometime in your life. I mean, I think I did 19 in 12 years at one stage, something like crazy like that. And then I was in the same place for a very long time. Elisa's had much more moving around more recently. But we really do hope that this is going to be a forever home. There are some adaptations we'd like to make, but there's no great urgency. We've got to get used to the space, and at the moment it's just the usual sort of stuff of mowing, cleaning, taking stuff down that we aren't going to use, but we are making sure it's going to good homes, charity shops and so on. But it is a stressful process, and you've all been so kind about that. Yeah. And yes, we are near the sea, and we have been in. I think, when did we go in? Was it last Sunday?
Yes.
And the waves were really very strong, very close to the shore, which was, I've got a great. I'm not a very good swimmer, but I really love waves. I find them very exciting. I've experienced waves in southwest France that are extremely powerful and knock everyone off their feet, but everyone's laughing, all age groups, and it's really exhilarating. So here it's not quite as strong as that, but certainly in Britain are the strongest waves I can remember.
Yeah, it was just it's just been brilliant, and hopefully we can go for another swim soon, but not today.
Because it has been raining pretty consistently.
Pretty torrential today. But I do feel sorry for those of you as well that are in countries where you've had those incredible heat waves, particularly in Canada, where you've been breaking all kinds of records.
This is it. There's all different changes going on in the environment and the ecological system, and but thank you so much for joining us. So please share your birthday for week commencing the 12th if you'd like to. Please subscribe to get your free daily horoscope. And thank you to our patrons and to you all for following us. And if you've yet to subscribe to the YouTube channel, I'd be very grateful if you would click or tap on the bell notification symbol, because every time we drop information, it means you will get an alert. So from the A team. It is.
Goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from her.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.